That was before we switched to these ones. The one from the year that I bowled Brittany in the finals, it was like the wave style one.
Yeah.
And we're back here for the wrap-up of the 55th Ladies Invitational Bowling Tournament. And we have with us our commentators, Bill Hansen and Deb Mason. And we have our champion and our runner-up, Morgan Swavel and Robin Pangallo. So I guess we'll start with you first, Robin. You had to do a lot of bowling to get here.
Yes, I did.
Deb was recapping
She
how
took
many.
the hard way.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Getting out of that losers bracket is tough.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and especially now that you guys have gone to the 4-game format as opposed to the 3 games that you used to do, that really starts to stack up on you.
It does, yeah.
Well, and in the Ladies Invitational, you work through the week. You don't wait until the weekend like the men's. So every time I won, I had to bowl again the next night. So I was bowled Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in a row. By that time, my fingers were killing me.
I gotta say, you get and a little bit of sore arm probably even almost.
My arm's used to it. My arm's used to that for the work that I do, but my fingers were killing me.
Yeah.
Mine's my knee.
Yep. She always has trouble with her knees.
My knee barely holds up.
So you guys both were familiar, as we talked about coming in. You are a past champion. You've been in the finals before.
Yep.
So you kind of know what this thing's about.
Yeah. Ironically enough, the last time I made finals, I was coming from the loser side to bowl Brittany, and then I won the 4-game match, but then in the 1-game roll-off, I lost. So yeah, it's a lot of bowling. That could be 5 matches on one day.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot for people that aren't used to it.
That's right.
Yes. So so you kind of get to reverse the feeling. You were the champion, you've been the runner-up, now you're the champion, you're the runner-up. Not against each other,
But yeah.
Yep.
but you both had the feeling of both sides of the coin.
Yep.
And as you said, it's true with the men too. Everybody's friends. There's no mortal enemies. You don't want to kill each other. You're happy for the winner even when you're the loser.
The other ladies we're always each other's biggest supporters. And I told Mama Robin before we started that we'll just both bowl well, and then neither one of us will be upset because no matter who loses or wins, you still bowled well. So.
Right.
Yeah, and you kind of control your own destiny. If you bowl well, you can win.
Right.
Yeah, bowling is definitely a sport where you just have to focus on yourself, because I can't control what happens down lane. I can't control what Mama Robin does. I can't control what carries and doesn't carry. All I can do is throw a good shot. That's what you just hope it works.
Well, it's all offense.
Yeah. Yep.
There's no
There is no
defense.
defense. No.
And her and I each of in our series, we each had 3 really good games.
Oh,
yeah.
Decent games, and we both were under our average in each one game. So, I mean, I kept up with her. I put up a good fight.
Oh, yeah.
I thought for sure after that second game that I had handed it away. I was like, oh, I shot 140. I can't do that against Robin. And then she gave it back a little the 3rd game. So then it was like we were even going to the 4th game. Even the whole way through the 4th game, you can never let up. I didn't know what was going to happen.
And in the 2nd game, every time that you missed something or you left something, I did the same thing.
Yeah,
in
we
the
would just
next
hand it back
frame.
and forth a few times, and then we would both strike a bunch, and then we would hand it back forth for a little while.
It was a good match, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And
Well, we were talking, after that first game, you guys bowled so good, and then the lanes kind of transitioned some, and, then it kind of strangely, got weird. All the splits that started
and
popping
I
up,
think
and then
your
the
ball,
2 4 5s, and
I think the ball that you're throwing the same line pretty much as me.
We're
get
both
a little in the beginning.
Yeah.
But we're
This is
following
the first
same
match
line.
of the whole tournament this year that I've actually run into fairly a decent amount of transition. Every other match I've maybe had to move 1 board left by game 3.
But then you moved outside.
Yeah, I moved 2 or 3 different times. I had to move in, and then I moved back out, and then I went in for a little while again.
Yeah, because when you went inside, the ball went straight.
Yeah.
You'd start to hook, but it just
And then it
didn't
would push.
finish.
Yeah.
Didn't finish right.
Yep.
That's when you left those what was it, the 2 4 5, I think it was. And
just never hooked up.
Yeah.
And as Bill
Then
mentioned,
you guys were throwing Brooklyn's like
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Deb was
By the
keeping
way,
count.
yes,
She had the count.
Brooklyn's and
She has
so
tallies.
forth. So you owe her
Send you my
$50
bill,
each.
What do we end up with? I know I had at least 3.
3.
I said at least.
That was in the first 5 frames.
Yeah.
Gee.
Well, as Bill mentioned, and something I didn't think about, but when you're going for a spare, a lot of times, especially if it's a 1-pin spare, the ball moves a little differently than when you're throwing for a strike.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's got to go deeper into the, and then it moves differently.
Yep.
Yeah, I struggled with like my left side spares today. I would think I covered it, and I just needed to direct my spare shots more because there was so much oil in the middle of the lane that I either needed to throw it slow and keep it right down the gutter line and then let it hook over, or I needed to direct it more because it wasn't going to get through that oil. Okay.
Yeah, you get caught in that oil.
Yeah,
it's
because
gonna
otherwise it
start
starts to
and
hook and then it
stops.
gets in the oil and then it just pushes through and then it doesn't
Yeah.
get to where you need it to go.
And I didn't play the outside at all.
Yeah.
I moved a board or one on each way,
Right.
trying to get it in there just a little bit to
Yeah.
hook. And that last game, I was hitting it on the head pin every time,
Yeah.
right in smack in the middle. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave
you were
something
you were
every
struggling
time.
there and
Yep.
trying to keep
I
it.
was lost there for a minute
Yeah.
at the end. I was.
And for casual bowlers, they don't know what you're talking about with the oil changing,
Right,
drying
yeah,
the lanes
right.
drying out.
Yep.
I certainly don't. I listen to these guys, but for you guys, when you're bowling competitively, that becomes a factor.
Oh, there's so many things you got to pay attention
Oh,
to.
yeah.
Big time.
Little
Yeah.
tiny differences make a huge
You
difference
can move
on
a
your
half a
score.
board even.
Yeah.
Half a
Right.
board.
Yeah.
Or
Throw it
just
harder,
a
slower.
slight change of your hand positioning. A lot of times that second game I was coming around the side of the ball really bad
Yeah.
instead of staying up the back of the ball and letting the ball do the work, and your ball roll's just not as good then. And
Yeah.
Tends to slide on you a little
yeah,
bit.
Yes.
yeah, it
Well, you
spins
lose all
more
the
instead of
power.
actually
Yep.
rolling.
The ball energy just dies.
Yep.
When it gets midway
So
down
little
the lane.
little tiny adjustments make the world of difference.
Yeah.
And I love bowling because it's such an individual sport. Like, there's no right way for everybody to bowl. If you look at a million bowlers, there's gonna be so many different approaches and arm swings and ball rotations and
We noticed
Yeah.
that
I love
as we're
it.
doing the commentary, both in the Rame and in the ladies. There are sometimes even subtle differences.
Yeah.
Use basically a 4-step approach.
yeah.
Yep.
Whereas
I have
you,
5.
yours is
Yep.
5. Sometimes even with that little stutter
Yep,
step,
and I don't
almost
even
6.
slide.
Yeah.
Yep, and I don't
Yeah.
even slide. Yep, yep.
So,
They tried to get me to change that, but,
but
ain't
it's
happening.
whatever works for you, right?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
whatever works that you can repeat. That's the biggest
yeah.
thing. Once you figure it out, being able to repeat that motion
Yep.
and be consistent is the biggest part of it.
That's how the pros do it.
Yep.
That's it.
Repeat that position every
Yes.
time.
They
and-
said it's a mental game, and I said,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
for most people like
Yeah.
her when she's young, but I'm old, so
Yeah.
it's more physical for me.
It's
Oh, it's a mental game for me.
The
for sure.
concentration.
I'm my own worst enemy.
Yeah, the concentration.
Yes.
You know,
Oh,
people
yeah.
don't realize it. It's concentration, and that part of it equates to the physical part of it. And when you get done, oh, I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, both mentally and physically, because you've exerted that much energy just mentally to think about what you're doing and making that same shot
Correct.
every
Yep.
time,
Yep.
or trying to anyhow.
Yep. And then and as the lane changes, you have to
You
change your mentality.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
change everything.
And that's the part of the good bowler, that they have to learn to adapt
Yep.
as the lane changes, how you change
Yep. Adjustments.
by taking care of that. Either have to move inside or move outside,
Right.
move forward, back. All those little subtle situations that you run into that make the game
Yep.
interesting.
Yep.
I was
so
going
to
to say,
speak.
and it has to be frustrating too. The pins don't always react the same. You
No,
think you
no.
hit a solid
Yeah.
pocket, and
Yeah.
the 10 pin or the 7 pin's
Right.
there, and a 5 pin, you really can't explain why. It's just
No.
how it reacts to each ball.
Yeah.
Tiny differences.
Yeah, tiny differences.
Especially when you guys were going after your 10 pins, it just
Well,
that's
she was getting a few of hers. I wasn't.
yeah.
Okay, now this is for Davey. Since we're doing this segment, we want to read some sponsors so that this is what keeps us able
Yeah.
to be able to do this.
Right.
We appreciate our sponsors as you appreciate
Absolutely.
yours for the tournament. Roger Brown at Winks Lock and Safe and A&E Fire Safety Services at Croston Wise Funeral. Mike Robinette at Trinity Monument, Marion Road, Bucyrus. Andy Motter, attorney at law across from the Bucyrus Historical Society. And Hannah Newton at Wendy's, Bucyrus, and Upper Sandusky. So we appreciate you guys taking the time out. I know your families are probably anxious to get out of here because you've been here for a couple of hours.
We live here.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
basically live here. Yeah. But
They're used to it.
appreciate our runner-up, Robin Pangallo, our champion, Morgan Swavel. And you mentioned that your grandfather
Yeah, my
at one
grandparents
time owned
used
it.
to own this when I was a kid.
Bought it off of Harry Wells.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've
It
grown
means
up
a lot
with,
to
I
me,
was gonna
for
say you've
sure.
grown up with bowling and at this house.
Ironically enough, I never bowled as a kid. Never.
Really?
My whole family was bowlers, but
She
I
didn't
never.
bowl until I got
until
her
that
onto
year
that
that I
team.
bowled with her, I had never bowled. And that year I bowled with her, I looked at the pins. I didn't know that you were supposed to look at marks on lanes or where your feet were at. I didn't
She
know
had
anything
no
about
clue.
bowling. I had no idea. And I averaged 94. And I bowled terrible, but we had a lot of fun
I
that
said
year.
it's okay because you did handicap
okay.
and you're gonna be
That's right.
fine. And then
Yeah.
she did it. Look at her now.
And then I took a couple years off because I had my kiddos, and I started dating Joel, and he got me really into bowling and started teaching me about bowling and
Yep.
what changes you can make and how things work. And when I got with him, he said, "Well, your approach is good, but everything else we have to change." Okay. And now here I am.
There you are,
Yeah.
champion.
The
of the
champion.
Ladies Invitational.
Yeah.
I'm just glad to be here. So this is icing on the cake.
Yeah. And I remember Joel and Heather bowling together on junior majors on
Yeah.
Saturday morning.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Now we're talking some time.
Oh yeah.
And
oh,
ironically
definitely.
enough, when
Definitely.
Robin keeps saying she's old.
Oh, I'm telling you, I
She
am.
doesn't know old
I'm
yet.
not telling you
Not
how old I
old.
am, but I'm old.
We'll talk about old boys at some point. So, okay, well, that wraps up our coverage of the Ladies Invitational, and we appreciate all the support we get from here at the bowling alley. And Deb, you do a great job of keeping us
Yes, she
updated,
does.
and Bill with the scores. I do a little summary of all the all the segments of the tournament on Crawford County Now, and I'll do a wrap up for this tournament as well. And but it's thanks to Bill because he supplies me with the information, so we appreciate that.
Thanks, Bill.
Well, thank you to everyone because everyone takes on their own
Thanks.
perspective.
And Deb, I'll give you a hug. I'm
roles
not
and-
shaking your hand.
But and we appreciate our sponsors, as we said. We appreciate not just the sponsors for you individually in the tournament, but all
Yeah,
the ones
just
Yes,
everyone
all the
that
ones.
makes this
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
from all the behind the scenes stuff to the businesses that
Yes.
take out ads in the book or the businesses that support the radio station so you guys can come do this stuff. All of it. There's so
Without
many
that,
hands in
there wouldn't
everything.
be any.
Yeah.
That's
The
right.
ladies that show up
Yeah.
and bowl every week.
Right.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
We have a lot to
Tasha
be
and Sean
thankful
for having the bowling alley open again. I mean, back when Grandpa owned the bowling alley, Sean actually worked for my grandpa. So it's life is so
Yeah.
weird how it comes full circle.
It does.
And I
It
bowled
does.
with Grandpa and Alita for a
Yeah,
couple years.
for a long time with Grandma and Grandpa.
Yeah,
It's
there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
So we appreciate all this, and so we'll be signing off here. Deb Mason, Bill Hansen, appreciate your help.
Thanks again.
Champion Morgan Swavel, runner-up Robin Pangallo. We sign off from here at Suburban Lanes, the conclusion of the 55th Ladies Invitational Bowling Tournament.
Thank you.